Hello fellow sim racers, Assetto Corsa fans, and people that mistakenly thought this video was a review of a pushchair. Today I'm driving the Mclaren 650S at Zandvoort against a field of GT3 cars controlled by the somewhat variable Assetto Corsa AI. Sitting on the grid, and we can just about see the lights at the top of the screen. Recording captures the 16:9 screen, not the dimensions of the Rift. Roast built, some the clutch, and we get a mega start. Plenty of room on the right, although it looks like we might get squeezed here a touch, taking a few more risks down into turn one, but remembering that the brakes and tyres are still cold. Pretty decent start there all in all. Trying not to get squeezed by the BMW, probably a bit daft trying to put our nose down the inside. Often the outside line of the hairpin there works a lot better than the inner on the early laps, however we get stuck behind our fellow McLaren. Having to lift just a little bit on the early lap as we're offline entirely. Everything's still cold as I said, and well, it's bumpy as hell offline. Pop it up the inside into the, I think that's the Marlboro turn, isn't it? Try and dispatch this McLaren as quickly as possible, as he does seem pretty slow. Oh, and it just gets out of the way for us. Perfect. Keep checking the mirrors to see if he's still there. And he is, so we can hear him. He'll still... Oh, and as the AI often does, as you push him offline, goes pretty hot into the Audi S's and nearly collects us for good measure. But move done, and now we can concentrate on moving up the road after this rather green Lamborghini. I think it's supposed to be a Grassa Lamborghini. One of the stock Kunos skins, I think. Looks like Kermit the Frog from the back to me anyway. Anyway, lap one done at Zandvoort in some GT3 cars. It's fair to say I've been pretty inspired by the trailer for Assetto Corsa Competizione this week. I've never really been a big fan of driving the GT3 cars in sim racing games, so I thought I really ought to put some effort into getting myself up the curve, so to speak. For those that are really familiar with the GT3 cars are probably cringing watching how I'm driving this, but the 650S in particular is quite new to me. I've only really done a handful of laps in it. So we get very, very close to that beautiful standing Lamborghini. Do love this pairing of the Marlboro and Renault turns. I think for what are essentially low to mid-speed corners, I think they're both very technical. There's a lot of time to be had there. Pop our nose up the inside of the not Grassa Lambo. Oh, we get a big pile of oversteer. I'm driving the 650S today because, well, when I recorded the video on Friday afternoon, I'd spent my train high ride home from the city drooling over pictures of the Mclaren MCL33 F1 car from the launch. Man, that thing is orange. I must admit, I find it pretty amusing that McLaren fans have been wanting a Papaya Orange Mclaren F1 car for at least a decade or so. I know they've run a couple of test liveries like that over the years, but you know, fans have been really clamouring to get hold of a race spec one. And when they finally do get one, the opinion's pretty sharply divided. Humans amuse me. That is a beastly looking Ferrari, and that I'm not sure if it's supposed to be sort of midnight blue or black. I think it is actually black. It's just the sky reflecting in it. Oh, big handfuls of oversteer, as I'm still not used to the way you can apply power in the McLaren. We get a better run through the fast part of the turn and throw it up the inside into Marlboro. And now we've got another Ferrari. I really love Zandvoort as a track. I think for all cars bar the absolute fastest, Formula 1, I'm looking at you. It's a great combination of sort of slow, mid and fast corners. It's bumpy, narrow, and there's plenty of technical parts. As we very tentatively look up the inside of the Ferrari there into the Audi S, is not gonna work very well at all. This is probably my favourite track in Assetto Corsa, it really is. Still hear lots of speculation from time to time about Zandvoort being in the running for getting the Dutch Grand Prix again, so we get a good run on the Ferrari. Not sure how much wing I'm running compared to the AI, but we're going to have to put... Oh, God, the AI brakes very early there. Somehow the Ferrari manages to stick with us around the outside and get a better drive off the corner. So let's try and force the issue down into the hairpin. As I said earlier, the run around the outside can sometimes work better off, but that Ferrari is very, very good at low speed, it would seem. Plenty of traction as well. Oh, I speak too soon. Anyway, yes, Zandvoort and Dutch Grand Prix. Just look at this place. Does it look like somewhere that could host a modern F1 event? And even if it could, and they could improve the facilities, the pits, the runoff, etc., the access. I know there's not a lot of parking. You can only get there on one train. Even if they could do all of that, the improvements they've made would just ruin the place. Let's keep F1 away from here. If there's going to be a Dutch Grand Prix in the next year or two, and I think there should be, and I can't believe I'm saying this, let's just have a street circuit. The other options would involve ruining tracks as well. Let's just have a street circuit and be done with it. Getting a good run through the Erie Lyondike bend. Hopefully be able to nab this BMW down the main straight, although he's got a decent top speed, it has to be said, but I really don't want to be looking at the back of that thing for too long. God, the AI does brake early there. Normal GT3 spec resumed there with an Audi out in front. Actually, I don't know if that's first place there or just the front of this pack. It's always hard to tell. As I often do, I set the AI at, I think, 98 for this with a variance of 2. So the ones at the back of the field would have been 96 and the ones at the front would have been 100. So you do get a bit of variation. It stops it. I find if you put them all on the same, 99 or 100 or whatever, you get a lot of cars very, very close together, which I guess makes for a more action-packed video, but it doesn't give you any time to sort of have some free air and actually enjoy the car. Having a bit of good fun with this Audi. Sounds great externally, that car, doesn't it? And we can now see there is another car off quite a way ahead. That may have been a glitch. Anyway, as I was saying, I'm not really far up the curve with the GT3 cars. I generally don't find them as entertaining to drive as older race cars. I prefer a car with a front and rear ends, have completely different ideas about what they should be doing at any given moment. As we get a really great run on the Audi. Tops out a slightly higher top speed, but we have the inside line. There we go, just a nice bit of understeer on the apex there and oversteer on the way out. It should make the Audi think twice about getting anywhere near us. Perhaps not the most professional looking thing in the world, but it seemed to do the job. Anyway, so as I say, I prefer cars where the front and back end are doing different things at any given time. It keeps you on your toes a bit more. That being said, I think it's a massive mistake to call the GT3s easy to drive. Sure, I mean, they're quite forgiving, but extracting the most out of them requires a huge amount of precision and a lot of practice and a lot of setup work as well. I've got a lot of respect for the guys that can extract really, really good times in these cars, as I completely missed the apex there through the Marlboro turn. Understeer a bit through Renault, but actually it's not necessarily the worst line there to miss the apex. When I was practicing for this, you know, did a sort of 10 lap stint or so, and I was 10 laps in short stints I should say, and I was a good 3 or 4 seconds off the fastest times posted on RSR. Yeah, sure. And in race trim I suspect we're probably a second or 2 down on that with other cars in the way. To get the, as I was saying, to get the most out of these cars requires a lot of work, and you know, I haven't done any setup work, and this is a track that really requires it. As you can see from the headset bobbling around, it's very bumpy.
Good job, that's your best time so far.
As I say, that actually set a remotely reasonable lap time for the first time in the race, thanks to some clear air, but we have run out of laps, alas. Spent far too much time talking about Assetto Corsa Competizione and GT3 cars and Mclaren launches and the like. Anyway guys, if you have enjoyed the video, please consider hitting like and giving us a subscribe. And until next time, thanks for watching, goodbye.